The Washington Commanders had an amazing 2024 season, coming so close to playing in the Super Bowl, but losing in the NFC Championship. Now, Dan Quinn and this front office head into the 2025 NFL Draft, wondering how they can get over the hump and which players they can draft to help them get there. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we will be breaking down our first three-round mock draft for the Washington Commanders here in the 2025 NFL Draft. But before we get into that, if you like the content we put out and you want to help the channel grow, easiest way is hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell, and while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you want to see Washington do in the upcoming draft. Ryan, let's pull this up here. So we did a full three-round mock draft. And so for the Commanders pick, you can see here in yellow. And we ended up going with Jack Sawyer. And I want to talk more about just the positional side of things, more than like the player itself. Jack Sawyer, I really like as a player coming out of Ohio State. Got a great motor. And I think that's what really sets him aside more than everything else. And so, but with Washington, though, if you don't like this player, so to say, or if he doesn't fit their scheme, I think it's just edge rusher in general.
Yeah.
If you want more of the bigger, beefier guy to go alongside, like with the defensive tackles that you've got, and Jersey Newton, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, maybe a Shamar Stewart, a guy of his size, I think would be great at like 6'6", 290, or Nick Scorton maybe. Or if you want to go more of that outside linebacker size, maybe Mike Green or Donovan Ezrake, someone a little bit on the tinier side, but like more outside linebacker. And that's where I kind of want to be more specific like that, because if you go look at this Washington team, I think they really need two things: edge rushers and receivers. And we're going to talk about receivers here in a little bit, but edge rushers, though, I think with where they're picking here, this is going to be where a lot of the prime you're going to get better value at the edge rusher position here. I mean, getting Michael Williams at 28 or even JT Tuimoloau at 30. You had also um, not. I think the next pick was Princely Uman Mielen as well out of Ole Miss. So once again, like a lot of edge rushers, four edge rushers went in a row here actually. Sorry, 4 out of 5, and so that I think Washington. I think that's going to be a big boost for this team as a whole, and they had good production as well from some guys, but also a lot of those guys are going to be hitting free agency as well. I think to really help out that defensive line and help increasing their sack production as a whole, getting like some good young defensive end talent first, I think would help out this team.
Yeah, and I think go look at Jack Sawyer's time at Ohio State, and especially this past season, he had probably one of the biggest plays in of college football with the beating Cameron Williams and then uh, strip sacking Quinn Ewers and then picking it up and running it for a touchdown. Like just technically, he's a really good edge rusher. He has the motor, he has the leadership qualities that I think you want. Maybe he's not like the athlete of Michael Williams or JT Tuimoloau, but I think his intangible traits kind of boost him up a little bit of just kind of refusing to be denied and just his incessant work ethic to uh, be great. And I think that that is going to be very much desired by Dan Quinn and this Washington Commanders front office. So I really like this
Right.
pick. If Jack Sawyer isn't for you, I think like there are plenty of other options, as you can see in this range. Colston Loveland was on the board here as well as Jaden Higgins. And so I think those would be two pass catching options that would be interesting for the Commanders to potentially target. But I do think the Commanders might be in play for T. Higgins. I hate to say that as a Patriots fan, but this is probably a much more desirable destination at the moment than New
Oh,
England. So
yeah. No offense.
yeah, no. Well, but you just do I want to go to the 4-13 Patriots or do I want to go to the team that just went to the NFC Championship
Well,
and has $95 million in cap space?
and it's kind of too. This is like what's amazing about like when you go get new ownership and new leadership from the top down.
Yeah,
And like, who would have thought that the premier receiver in a free agency class would be like, yeah, I want to go play at FedEx Field. It's
yeah,
like no, like no,
yeah,
like that never would have happened. But you go get Jaden Daniels in there. You go and bring in a veteran head coach. You
yeah.
go make an exciting offense. Who's the owner's name? Josh Harris. Is that
Yeah,
it?
Josh Harris and like Magic.
Well,
It's a group. Like Magic
it's an
Johnson is a
ownership
part of the
group,
group.
but
Yeah, yeah.
he's been more the face of it, and just
Mhm.
the culture that he's brought in. It's like, yeah, like players actually want to go play at FedEx Field, which
Yeah,
is
and
not.
housing is really cheap in the DC area right now, so,
And that's
uh,
true, yeah. I think
yeah.
there's gonna be very competitive pricing going on over there. This is a football show, Ryan, we don't talk
Yeah,
about
I
that
know,
stuff
sorry.
here.
Let's move on now to their second round pick here. S Savion Williams, the wide receiver out of TCU, I think would be really fun in this offense. You go look, just the versatility that he brings as a wide receiver is, I think, really intriguing. Just he lines up in the Wildcat. I believe he actually was a former quarterback that is a converted wide receiver. He's lined up at running back. He's lined up at tight end, fullback. He's lined up as an X receiver, a slot receiver. He's done so many different things. And I think just with the uniqueness of this offense and what Jaden Daniels brings to the table, you could put a lot of defenses in a lot of conundrums, just with Savion Williams out on the field, lining him up in all sorts of different ways, giving defenses a lot of different looks, with similar personnel sets. And so I think this is a premier landing spot for Savion Williams, even if they go out and add a T. Higgins or a Darius Slayton, in free agency.
Well, and he is very unique because he's, like, 6'4", but he does have that, like, Luther Burden-esque type kinda capabilities where he has that
Yeah,
yak capabilities, and you pair him up with Jaden Daniels, that is gonna be very interesting.
yeah.
Um, but,
I mean, but
go
let's
ahead.
be real. His comparison is Cordero Patterson. Like that's just like his floor is what Cordero Patterson is.
Yeah, and Cordell Patterson's had a pretty solid NFL career. So
Yeah,
a lot of teams would wanna have a guy like that with that capabilities, but, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but, like, the same thing I said about the edge rushers going with Jack Sawyer, I think the same thing can apply here. If you don't like Savion
yeah.
Williams in our mock draft, it's like Jalen Royals went at 58, then you see Matthew Golden, then Tate Felton was still available. You had Gunnar Helm, tight end, who went a couple picks later. Jack Bech was taken a couple picks after that. And I'll even
Mhm,
include a running back, Quinshon Judkins. He was taken at 72 overall. So if you're just trying to find skill position players here,
mhm.
oh, and actually we included Quinshon Judkins there. But it's like this is going to be about where like that wave of like clear round two receivers are going to be. There were a couple of guys taken early on, like Jaden Higgins or like Alec Io Manor. But once again, I think those guys could also be included in here. And this is just going to be about that wave of where these receivers are going to go. So Washington can be aggressive and they go get the guy that they want, move up a couple of spots. Or if they like all these guys and they just want one of these guys to fall to them, then I mean,
Yeah,
this is going to be kind of a perfect spot. I feel for them here. And so like they absolutely could go receiver first. They absolutely could go edge rusher second. But I think the value wise though of like where these players seem to be falling overall, it has been in this order so far. And I like the
yeah,
value for both of them. I don't really think there's too many wrong picks they could end up that they could end up going. Maybe quarterback. Quarterback might be a wrong pick here if they end up going that route because I think they're fine in that category. But let's move on now to their final pick here. They got us from a trade, but this is where they do end up addressing the offensive line, going with Ozzy Trapilo. You're still. the- I remember kind of when we were going over this pick, we are a lot of different routes that they could have ended up going here. Like we thought about maybe double dipping at edge rusher with Donovan Zarate, but wanted to kind of be a little bit versatile. And this is with Jaden Daniels though too, and he did take a lot of hits this year. He had an amazing season overall. He was running the ball a bunch. And the hits were definitely more obviously in the rushing category. He led the team in rushing with just shy of 900 rushing yards, but on 148 attempts, holy cow, that's wild. But you still though you want to go and protect your quarterback, and I think beefing up the tackles here, and even to Sam Cosmi as well. He tore his ACL in the divisional game, so his status for the season might be a little bit up in the air. Might start on the pup list, so just getting more depth. But Ryan, what does a guy like Ozzy Trapillo do for the Commanders, and how does he help improve this offensive line?
yeah. So he's the right tackle out of Boston College. I think he has the length and size and strength that you want out of a tackle, and so I think he just provides a floor to what the right tackle could be. So they drafted Brandon Coleman in a pretty similar spot last year. Now you go out and get Ozzy Trapillo to kind of come in and be um play a similar role on the right side. And so I think just adding stability to that offensive line, allowing this running game to kind of continue to grow with Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson Jr. So I think this is a good pick. It also could just be best player available. There are other options too. You mentioned Donovan Ezraku. They could go get a Harold Fannin or a Barrett Carter to kind of come in and be the linebacker under Bobby Wagner for a season or two. Like they could go a lot of different ways. The other one too, some of these corners have started to rise up. There's Maxwell Hairston, Noel Williams, and I think a couple other corners that are in this tier of player that they could potentially go after as well. So I think that would be uh interesting option here. We went with Ozzy Trapilo, but we could see them going any route really that they feel is best.
Yeah, yeah, and I think for the Commanders as a whole, like if you're looking at like their weaknesses, and it's going to be like that edge rusher position, then like some more skill position players, just as a whole. I think they're set up perfectly. I think for this draft, it's like where they're picking. That's about where it seems like those guys, those types of players, seem to be going off to like help address their needs. And then with picks like at pick 79, it's like if there's just a solid guy in general that can help them out on the offensive line or in the secondary, and guys that they just really like, they want to address that position, knowing they're going to double dip in day 3 for edge rusher and receiver more. I think that they go for it, and so there's a lot of players. The strength of this class is going to help out. Is going to be kind of the weaknesses for the Commanders, and that's I think they're going to have a really good draft here. It's just going to be finding the guys that they like, that they want to help fit their system. And so Commanders going to be fun to watch. I think everybody now fan favorite, and Jaden Daniels, super fun to
Oh
watch.
yeah.
Boys, amazing season overall for them, and I think a lot of people are going to want to see them back in the spotlight again.
Yeah. No, I think it's gonna be really fun to kind of watch this team. I'm excited to see what Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels can come up with this offseason. Also, too, that defense improved a lot as the season went on. And so I think
Yep.
this is gonna be a scary team going forward. So let's go ahead, let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Commanders 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? Other than that, we will see you guys next time.